This is Mark Jacobson with the Kent County Conservation League. On behalf of the Kent County Conservation League, we'd like to welcome you to the Conservation Club located here in Ada, Michigan. Today we're going to cover safety for the pistol range that we have here. And if you would look at the beginning with the parameters of the range, we have our berms on the left. We have our impact area, which is firing only to the north. And we have our immediate berm on the right here. During the course of fire at the pistol range, all shooting will be done from south to north. There will be no cross-range shooting of any kind. You're allowed to shoot on the steel that is in your lane, or the paper targets as you so choose. We have 50-meter targets down there that are made of steel that you can shoot at. But again, those that are straight out, no crossfire is allowed. All right, first and foremost, we'll talk about how we come in to enter the range. We have entrance from the two back doors that you can see that are on the south side of the club. If those doors happen to be locked at the time, you can knock on them and announce, or you can, if nobody answers, then you can go around to the east side and cautiously announce yourself to come in. Right. Eye and ear protection will be worn at all times while on the pistol range. Prescription optics are okay to suffice as eye protection. And of course, hearing protection is your choice of either the muffs or the molded ear pieces or the squishy foams. But again, those will be worn at all times during the time that the range is hot. A few things we'd like to cover. Everybody is a range safety officer. If you see something that is unsafe, yell cease fire, repeat it 2 to 3 times. If you hear somebody say cease fire, freeze in place. Do not at any time pick up a dropped gun. If that's over the bench line here, everything is done from the bench. So cease fire. If you hear that term, stop, freeze in place. Out here on the firing line, when there's no range safety officer present, we have video surveillance to assist you if there's a medical or a shooting incident that takes place. Be it a mishap of some kind, malfunction of the gun that causes injury, we have video surveillance here to help in getting help on the way. If you come across a situation that you feel is not safe, please come to the clubhouse and let us know, and we'll try to rectify that. If anything you see down here, if there's broken glass, if there's targets that are damaged, please don't shoot them. Let us know and we'll get that taken care of. Okay, so we've arrived at the range. We've come inside. We have our guns in the proper storage devices, be it the case for the long guns, which 22 is authorized out here on the range, as is 17 Mach 2 and 17 HMR. So the line will be always checked, have bolts to the rear, magazines outside of the firearm. In this case, this 22 M&P from Smith & Wesson has the magazine removed, the bolt is to the rear, and I can look into the chamber and see that it's empty. On the pistol, again, the first thing we do is remove the magazine, wrap the slide several times, locking it to the rear, doing a visual and a physical inspection, as we've done here on this Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm. If we're going to access a revolver, pull it out of the case, open up the cylinder, do a visual and physical inspection, and we can go ahead and put that on the bench. Okay, first rule is always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. Always. If you anticipate that there was a laser emitting out of the barrel and that any time that barrel swept somebody it would cut them in half, that's the muzzle control rule that we want to make sure we know about. If we're accessing the pistol or the handgun and we are going to engage a target, the first thing that we would do is not point the gun up in the air. Again, if the firearm, this is not a safe direction. If it discharged, it could go through the roof and get out of the range. All firearms will be taken off the bench and brought directly up to eye level. Never shoot above eye level. Always right at the target. If you're coming back and you want to check your target, this mode is acceptable right here, or you can simply lay it on the bench. Some of the nuances of a double action revolver or this. If we cock the revolver and then we decide we don't want to shoot, it must be pointed in a safe direction as you pull the trigger and slowly lower it down. The caution here is if it slips, it could discharge. Okay. With the semi-automatic pistols, in this striker-fired one from Smith & Wesson, their safeties are passive in nature. As I pull the trigger, I'm defeating the safeties. If I decide not to shoot, I can simply set the gun down on the bench, or I drop the magazine, lock the slide, locking it to the rear, doing a physical and visual inspection. So, always point the guns in a safe direction. Always keep your finger off the trigger and outside the trigger guard until ready to shoot. And what do we mean by this? This is a term we call point shoot, where our finger is outside the trigger guard and alongside the frame of the gun. This assists us in indexing the target, and more so, it keeps our finger off the trigger and outside the trigger guard until we're actually on target and ready to shoot. Okay. Cold range, which means a green range if you would. The firearm should be unloaded, magazines removed, actions open, and the firearms on the bench. Take a step back from the bench, no firearms handling at any time when somebody is going down range. If it's okay to go down range, this will be when the range is cold. This will be when you can go down range after everybody has agreed. When the range safety officer is here, he will call the range is cold. At that point, you'll go through the sequence I just described, go down range, look at your targets, hang up new ones, whatever you're going to do. Once you come back from the line, again, do not touch your firearms. Wait for everybody to get back from being down range. Everybody has acknowledged that the range is ready to go hot, which is a red condition. It's okay to handle firearms. This is when eyes and ears, again, will be worn during this time. All right. We treat every firearm as though it's loaded, always. So the first thing I want to do when I pick up a firearm is I want to do a visual and physical inspection to see if it's loaded or if there's any ammunition still in here. Again, keep our finger off the trigger, outside the trigger guard until ready to shoot, so we don't point the gun at anything we don't intend or authorize to shoot on the range. So the 4 cardinal rules of firearm safety. 1, treat every gun as though it's loaded. 2, never point the firearm at anything that you're not authorized to shoot or not intending to shoot. 3, never put your finger on the trigger until you're on target and ready to shoot. And 4 is always know your target and beyond. If on this range, in example here, we have authorized targets, you must be aware of your targets and your backstop and beyond. At any point in time, we could have game that would come out here as deer, turkey, different wild animals that could be on the range. We don't want to shoot and or wound those accidentally and on purpose. It would be a criminal matter. So we're going to always be aware of what's on the range. We're going to be aware of anything that might not be a safe condition. That's when we would yell ceasefire. All right. So the first rule is treat every gun as though it's loaded, always. Even though I set this firearm on the bench, I'm going to check it to make sure that it's safe. 2, I'm going to be aware of my muzzle, where it's pointed at. 3, never put my finger on the trigger until on target, ready to shoot. 4, know my target, my backstop, and beyond. All right. So I've decided that I want to go ahead and shoot my firearm. Where might I point this thing when I'm loading? As I'm loading this pistol, a safety precaution comes into this. I have my magazine in my hand, and I'm deciding that I'm going to load the pistol. All right? In this case, a 9mm pistol. I have the firearm here. I went ahead and have my eyes and ears in place. The range is hot. I'm on the bench here. I'm accessing the pistol, and notice it's pointed down range. I'm not pointing this up in the air. It's pointed down range. I'm looking into the magazine well. I insert the magazine all the way, and at this point, I either activate the slide release or I do the slingshot method, pull and release. My pistol is armed and ready to fire. At this point, I can engage targets downrange. I've expended my rounds of ammunition. If my intentions are to no longer shoot, then I simply drop the magazine on the bench, check, and I'm good. If I'm shooting the revolver, would load, close the cylinder, and then my course of fire. At this point, open the cylinder and expend the, put it on the bench to make safe. If I'm shooting the .22 rifle, I have the rifle here, I have my magazine, insert my magazine, bolt goes forward, I may shoot. Drop the magazine, check, clear, safety on, and I can put it back on the bench. Everybody should know their firearm, their equipment, the nuances to it. We didn't cover the 1911, we did not cover single action revolvers. But again, knowing your equipment, if you have any questions, please ask one of the employees, the manager, or myself for any instruction that you may need to feel safe on the range. Safety is our primary concern. Next to that, we want you to have a good time and enjoy your time here at the Kent County Conservation League. If there's anything we can do to further aid your enjoyment, but most of all safety, please bring that to our attention. We'd be more than happy to address that. And thank you for coming out.